Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Q&A. Today we're going to talk about eating hygiene, eating for better digestion. Yes, you can actually help control some of these gut issues by eating better. We call it eating hygiene. So we're going to get to that in just a second. I'm hoping that some of you will give me some feedback on how your journey is going. And don't forget, I do need your weight. I would love to have it every day. You're supposed to be weighing every morning if you can. Excuse me, if you can. So, um, yeah, I'd look forward to some updates. And so let me know if you have any challenges or barriers going on. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started on eating hygiene. Okay. So this is a handout. And this is a handout that um, I give to all of my clients. We talk about this, and it's super, super important. And it is, it's a simple concept, yet when we don't follow it or don't do it, we can certainly get, acid reflux or bloating or any kind of other kind of dysfunction in the gut. So I do hand this out, and I'm going to put a copy of this in the Facebook group so you can print it out and utilize it yourself to help your digestion. So, okay, so the title is Dis-ease Does Not Have to Begin in the Gut, the Power of Eating Hygiene. So you can follow along with me in this handout. And so I'm just going to go through it and, let me know if you have any questions on it. So talking about gas, bloating, distension, overly full after a meal. How many of you belch after you eat or start getting some, mild reflux? Yeah, so I know a lot of people, may do that and they're not quite sure while they're doing that or why they're doing that. So a lot of us have GI dysfunction and it requires some intervention. That's why you come see me, right? Because you need some help. Now, in other cases, however, we can find major relief, not just a little relief, major relief by adopting some of these principles of eating hygiene. Okay, again, don't be fooled on how simple these are. They can be very powerful. So let's just start with the first one. That is slow down. Yeah, easier said than done, right? We're busy, we got things going on, we've got appointments, and we just want to, hurry up and eat our food so we can move on. Excuse me. When I talk too much, I start coughing. My apologies. Okay, so now, if you came from a larger family, you can probably understand that, or even a small family really, that you need to eat all of your food before you get dessert, right? And so you're going to inhale everything on your plate because you want to make sure that none of your siblings get all the dessert. So a lot of us grew up this way. And, in the 70s, maybe even the 60s, eat everything on your plate. But now we have to remember that digestion takes time. And our digestive secretions, which include our stomach acid, our bile from our gallbladder, or our digestive enzymes that come from our pancreas, they need time to be called out and to help digest our food. So if we are stressed, like we were living in chronic stress, it can take even longer for these digestive secretions to come out. And so if they don't come out because we're stressed, our cortisol levels are elevated, then we're going to have a problem. So if you wolf your meal down in a hurry, you have a very full stomach, and it has trouble mixing the acid and the enzymes well with your food. So take a look at this coffee cup. So like if you put food, in it and you just keep eating and eating and eating, and then you try to stir it up to break things down, that's how our digestive system works. Well, that food is going to spill over, right? And that's how we're going to start, with the burping and the acid reflux and things like that it's the food is just spilling over. So we have to, eat slowly, give it time to digest. And so It takes about 20 minutes for your gut to signal to your brain that you're full. Okay, so if it takes 20 minutes for that signal to go through, then if you're downing your food in 10 minutes, boy, then those digestive secretions and your full digestion process is not getting a chance to do that. So you're going to be more than likely, you're going to overeat and you're going to feel bloating a little bit later, right? So we sit back, we feel bloated. Yeah, sometimes it's just we ate too much or too fast. And sometimes if you have a hard time slowing down, you may need to mindfully put your knife and fork and spoon down every time you eat, every time you take a bite. Okay, so this is going to force you to slow down. And don't forget to take a breath every time you take a bite. That's going to slow you down also. We need oxygen to digest our food. So if we're just inhaling everything, we're not getting that oxygen. So we're not getting the proper digestion that we need. So slow down and just work on it. Be mindful about it and work on it. Put those utensils down after every bite and enjoy the food. Okay, the next one is chew. So we chew our food on average about 6 times before we swallow. And chewing, if you think about it, chewing is the only part of digestion that we can control. We voluntarily control that. So we need to work on chewing more. So the less we chew our food, the harder our GI tract has to work. And we don't want our GI tract to work harder, right? It's already stressed out. That's why you're here seeing me. So once our GI tract is overworked, it creates post-meal fatigue. So after you eat, you're feeling really tired. And so ideally, okay, now I said ideally, we want to chew our food until it's almost a liquid. And I know I've had clients say, "Ooh, gross," and I know, I get it. But it can definitely reduce the gassiness and the post-meal fatigue that we may have. Okay, and then when we swallow chunks of food that we just have not chewed up enough or liquefied, it's harder for the digestive enzymes in the intestines to digest that food and do their job. Because what ends up happening is the carbohydrates start hanging around in our intestines way too long. It just kind of sits there. Well, the bad bacteria in the gut, they feast on that. They thrive on the carbohydrates. And then what happens is they end up creating gassy buildup in our system. Okay, and so that starts creating distension, bloating, flatulence, all that. So chew your food a little bit more, 20, 30 times. If you need to count them, then count them, but at least just work on it so you get into the habit. And then you don't have to count anymore once you realize that you are not chewing enough. And most people do come back to me and say, "Hey, I was not chewing enough." But you don't think about it. Nobody thinks about it, right? Okay. Prioritize eating. So a lot of times, and I can be guilty too, where it's like, "Oh my gosh, I've got an appointment in 20 minutes. I need to eat my lunch. I'm starving. I don't have time, so I'm going wolf it down and I'm just not prioritizing my meals. And this is for my body and for my health. We need to prioritize eating. And we do that by sitting down at a table instead of watching TV or being in front of our computer. We want to sit down. And this is going to allow our nervous system to fully relax and go into a parasympathetic mode, which we also call the rest and digest mode. So we can either ask our body to focus, rush, and perform, fight or flight when we eat, or we can ask it, take a break. Let's build our strength and our energy and eat while we are in a rest and digest mode. Okay, because the body's not going to do both at once. You're either going to be stressed out or you're going to be relaxed, and you're not going to digest if you're stressed out. So let's calm down when we're eating. Okay, and like if you're stressed, you're going to get diarrhea. Sometimes we get some nausea feelings, and all kinds of stressful situations. That's what's happening. Your body is not being able to relax and to perform like we expect it to. Okay, and breathing, like I mentioned before, the body needs oxygen to properly digest its food. Okay, so make sure we are calming down and we're taking a breath after each meal. And really take that belly breath, the lower belly that goes out when you breathe in. And then relax and savor, when you're eating. So be mindful of what you're eating, the colors, the textures, the aromas, and the taste, right? So we want to really tell the brain that, we are loving this, we are calm, and we are eating for better digestion. Okay, so let me go through here. Yeah, and when we're super, super busy, we talked about planning meals already. If you didn't see one of my past Q&A lessons, we talked about meal planning, and getting our meals ready for the next day is so much nicer, especially in the morning when we're rushed, right? So plan your meals, and if you need to put your eating window or time on your calendar, do that. So you actually make time on your calendar to eat lunch or to have a snack or whatever you like to do. So this ensures that you truly have time set aside to care for yourself, your body, your gut. And you're doing that, with mindful eating. Okay, last one. Don't drink too much during your meals. So we need to be hydrated. Yes, we do. And I tell everybody that we need to get so many ounces in a day, and we need to have our electrolytes. We need to be hydrated, but don't want to hydrate during meals. Okay. Now, I'm not saying don't drink water during meals, but I'm saying let's not take those big gulps and get as much water as we can as we're eating. So when we consume large amounts of water during a meal, you're actually diluting the acidity of your stomach acid and any kind of digestive enzymes or the bile. We are diluting all of that, and it's going to slow digestion down and cause problems. So sometimes we can cause an early sense of fullness, and before you finish your meal, or more belching, or this can certainly cause malnutrition from maldigestion, meaning that you're not going to be able to break down your vitamins and minerals like your iron and your magnesium and your calcium and your vitamin B12. So if it's near mealtime, and you feel thirsty, but you don't want to drink too much while you're eating, you make it a point of drinking a large glass of water before your meal, before you're sitting down to eat. This allows your body to absorb it while you are in transit to your meal or making your meals. And ideally about 20 minutes or so before you eat is when you want to drink all that water, because it allows the water to clear your stomach before its digestive duty begins. So get in the habit of carrying a water bottle, glass, stainless steel around with you throughout the day. And you want to sip on it throughout the day, starting when you first wake up in the morning. Okay, that way you're not chugging it down at 8 o'clock at night because you didn't drink during the day. Okay, so start early, and throughout the day, drink your water. All right, well, what do you think? These are simple things that we can do to help digestion. And they, like I said, don't underestimate the power of these. So print this out and put it by your table, or put it on your table where you sit. People do that to remind them what they need to do. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know, and good luck on your journey. And I look forward to hearing from everybody. All right, take care. Bye-bye.